Okay, good. Okay, got it. Right, that's good. Because last time I did that, it cut me off from the whole slideshow, if you remember, so it was good. What are you laughing at? Well, have my moments. I'm not the Madonna, but I might be an angel. Yes. Just, yeah, just one moment. There's a pregnant silence. Maybe I should start. Yeah. What do you think? Yes, let's start. So, good evening. And once again, it's a really great pleasure to be here. Thank you for inviting me. And I have to say that this whole experience of the last months has been very enjoyable for me. Thank you for the really interesting feedback and comments. And thank you also for listening to a humble musician talking about psychology and medicine. And today I'm going to turn that back to front. I'm going to upside down. I'm going to talk about a psychologist, a psychobiologist who taught musicians to sing. This is a metaphor. He didn't teach musicians how to sing, but he taught musicians about singing, about what we understand about the voice and singing. We've touched on some of these things before, but now I want to bring it together in the last lecture more clearly. We're going to talk about mothers and babies again. And I've tried to do this in Ukrainian as well as in English. Mothers and babies share vitality effects in sound. What do I mean by that? A vitality effect is a sign of life, a sign of feeling, a sign of emotion. Znak, emocja, znak, почуття. That is a vitality effect. And so these can exist in sound, movement, in visual expression, where they share emotions, feelings, sympathy, empathy, and trust. These moments of sharing in sound and vision, action, are very important moments in human life. They are the point at which people get deeply in contact. I can give a vitality effect. Oh, I am frustrated, I am unhappy. And as we've noticed, this not only tells you I am bored, frustrated, I'm not, I'm pretending to be, but it also gives you that feeling. It infects you, it moves into you as a feeling too. So these affects in turn activate neural substrates, neurology under the surface of this, like circuits for reward, dopamine. Immediately our circuit for reward is activated. Attachment. Polyvagal activity. And pleasure. Wow. Oxytocin. This is where music, movement, dance, drama, and visual art are born. Art is born in vitality affect. That's where it comes. It is also the basis for art's trauma therapy, where it is laid down. These are the elements that we can most help people with in trauma therapy. So on to my psychobiologist. Here he is. My colleague, Colin Trevarthen at Edinburgh University, is a Nobel Prize nominated discoverer of neural networks for peripheral vision. He worked with Roger Sperry at Caltech, California Institute of Technology, where Roger Sperry was the investigator of split brain research. So he worked a lot of work with Sperry and founded the Zero Project at Harvard with Jerome Bruner and Howard Gardner before coming to Edinburgh. So here is a film of Colwyn's early work. In the 1970s, with mother-infant communication. Here he's looking at a mother and child communicating. This is a classic film from in the history of, many of you will have seen it before, but it's worth seeing again. And what Colwyn does is he films the mother and child with a mirror so that you can see what both the child and mother are doing and hear what they're doing. So here's the film, rather old film.
A baby learns to talk before it can actually talk. Here in Edinburgh, Colin Trevarthen pioneered techniques for recording these exchanges, or proto-conversations, simultaneously. James is 10 weeks old. His exchanges with his mother involve eye contact and gesture.
Not coming sound, is it?
This learned behavior, we asked Colin Trevarthen.
The purpose was to get as close a look as possible at both halves of the communication. So we wanted to be able to see everything the baby did in response to the mother, and also all of the mother's expressive behavior that was exciting the baby, and look at their mutual
I will.
effects on each other.
Come on now. Where's my smiles gone? Yes. Yes, I thought so. I thought there'd be another smiley. Yes. Yes. I know, and you're blowing bubbles. Yes.
The behavior of the baby is exceedingly complex. It is inconceivable that patterning has been learnt or trained. People have talked about that interaction, the turn-taking as if it's proto-conversation. Many of those I see as a reflection of the natural characteristics of the baby's motivations.
Can you bring your hands together for Mummy? What you doing to Mummy?
The real difference between this and any learning theory is the idea that there is an inborn capacity to communicate as a human being, and with many, many features that are embryonic elements of speech and gesture and language communication.
Come on, my sweet.
What about the lovely smile then?
Yeah. Now you do clapping hands.
The smile itself is a kind of behavior that can't have any effect on the world except through someone else perceiving it. It does express feeling. So babies are expressing the same kinds of feelings as the mother who reflects the affection and smiles back at the baby. But it's important to realise that it's only part of a whole complex of body behaviour of the mother.
Yes. I said, could you say something? What would you say to mommy?
The quality of her voice, the gentleness and softness of it expresses the same feelings. In fact, you can actually hear a smile in the voice because it changes the physical quality of the sound.
I know, it's terrible. It's mommy too.
Trevarthen stresses both the innate and the emotional quality of the baby's behaviour.
So I didn't want to interrupt the film, but what Colin is saying is that what the baby and mother are sharing is very deep. Also, it's almost certainly innate, born, that children are born with this capacity to communicate, and it just has to be activated. They are ready, children, to make this communication with their mother. And with the mother, they are sharing feelings. They're sharing the states of their mind and body, emotions. So something that may appear to be trivial and non-important is really very important for human development. I'll attempt to try and explain now. At the basis of it, though, is the idea before Trevarthen in child psychology, the child was something into which you put, information, strategies, psychology, you teach them. And what Trevarthen is saying, no, the baby knows. The baby is looking and waiting and responding for these things. This is very important for our work. Little story. At lunch, sometime probably late in 1995, Colin asked me if I knew of a computational method for notating musical sound that could capture the expressive and emotional nuances of mother-infant interactions. Did I know of a computer program that could catch the sound so that we could investigate it? I replied that just the day before, I had been at a postgraduate seminar presented by one of my students, Stephen Malloch, describing a spectral notation intended to capture the subtleties of George Ligety's orchestral timbres, but almost certainly adaptable to the human voice. Stephen was looking at Ligeti. You'll know him from Stanley Kubrick, 2001, Space Odyssey. It's a music where it's an avant-garde music, where 1 + 1 = 10, where 2 + 1 = 20. That just by putting sounds together, Ligeti is able to make explosions of sound. And so Stephen was saying, how does he do this? And he developed a notation to do that. So to cut a long story short, Stephen became Colwyn's postdoctoral student, and of course came to play a key role in the evolution of the theory of communicative musicality. It's an interesting story about science coming from art. And of a coincidence, why the day Colin asked me, do you know of a notation? Why was it that the day before I had seen exactly the notation that was needed? So the world has sometimes mysterious way of helping us to go forwards. And also it really emphasizes the importance of art science. I don't think there is a future for art and science without one another. I think that science cannot exist without humanities. and neither can the humanities exist without science. And this is an early example of how important that is. Let's look what happened with Stephen's notation. So here is a conversation that has been notated by Stephen with his special computational notation. And I can read it to you. The things that are in black are the mother, and the white is the baby. So. Come on, again. Come on, then. Oh, that's clever. Oh, yes. Oh, is that right? Well, tell me. Oh, tell me more then. Tell me some more then. Oh, come on. Oh, together. Oh. I go. A conversation in sound between a mother and a child. What Stephen discovered was that this is a musical structure. It is like a sonata. It has an exposition, a development, and a recapitulation, and climax and resolution. So something quite profound is happening here. So in the theory of communicative musicality, this is communication in sound, movement, and visual, vitality, affect. One, facilitates intersubjectivity and the sharing of feelings, moods, emotions, motivations, states of mind and body between mother and child. Mother and child can share feeling. Oh. Say it again. Oh. There was this sharing of feeling, that it attracts and stimulates the first coordinated bodily movement. This is something we notice with a child. It is the mother's voice that goes, ah, and the hands come up, child. It gets to the point where the child begins to be a conductor of the mother. Mother is going, oh. The child is going, oh. The child is telling the mother to make a sound. So this is a really profound connection between sound and movement. It's very profound. Because I'm wearing a loud microphone, I'm not going to do this trick, but I could do a trick going, bah! And I hope that you would jump. Because there is a neural pathway from the top of the spine, in the ear, straight sound to our interneurons for movement. We have direct stimulation of movement from sound. We don't need to think. However, in this process, we're having both. We're having both reflex and thinking between movement and sound. Sound and movement are related by reflex, and they're related by thinking and reflecting and feeling. So it also activates neural substrates for feelings, moods, emotions, motivations, orientation in time and space. It activates our deeper structures of feeling. You know, I'm angry, frustrated and angry. I have activated that not just in myself, but in you too. Please don't. I don't want to have that feeling. Huh? It is a way of sharing, but I could also share love. I can also share my musical happiness. I can share my quiet happiness with you. This is the power of communicative musicality. It also creates the template for the acquisition of spoken language. In baby's development, language comes after this. We've mentioned this before. It's really important that music in our evolution comes before language as individuals and as a species. Music came first, then came language. Da-da, music came first. Then came language. I'm really happy. Oh, I'm really fed up. So these things we perch, we put music, language on intonation. And this is the basis for all art and art therapies. We talked about this in the first lecture, if you remember, about the beginnings of language, that early humans used distinctive expressive sounds that led to enduring forms as pre-verbal signs to express the importance of belonging and relationships, as well as to identify experiences. So these sounds are tremendously important. Evolution. And so then we are able, very interestingly, it appears, through analysis of the expressive gestures we make with our body, head and eyes, hands, intricate modulations of voice, throat and mouth, far more elaborate and imaginative than any of ape, and communicative with a plastic song that no other primate can imitate. In other words, we have this mobility of our body, our big eyes that can move, our head that can gesture in ways that other animals can't. We can say far more with our eyes and our movement and our sound than any other animal. And going on to remember our examples of the earliest music, this is rock gongs from the Stone Age in Africa. And so on. The oldest musical instruments, human beings. You know? Moving through some ideas behind communicative musicality. And we have a lot of psychologists and others here, so I make no apology for this. And once again, I attempt to do it in Ukrainian, so please read it. The concepts of phenomenology and intersubjectivity are rooted in philosophy. It was, of course, Edmund Husserl who first introduced and popularized the term, 1913. Ideen zu einer reinen Phänomenologie und phänomenologische Philosophie, and described the link between them in a series of definitions subsequently modified by Heidegger in Sein und Zeit, 1927. For both, phenomenology was the philosophical background and intersubjectivity the functionality. Phenomenology is a philosophical concept about reality. Intersubjectivity is a practical embodiment of phenomenology. But whereas Husserl based his ideas of intersubjectivity on empathy, Einfühlung, as in the empathetic recognition and understanding of, for example, pain in another person, then Heidegger was more interested in ontology, being in the world and entering into subjectivity, or sharing knowledge and feelings with others through experience. Another very important ancestor of communicative musicality, the psychiatrist Daniel Stern. People will know his book, The Present Moment. The fleeting now of human experience has an average duration of 3 to 4 seconds. What is now? It is maybe that, roughly. And it can be as long as 10 seconds. It is dividing up the chunking of meaningful subjective experience. It has to have a meaning to be now. Now is not an abstraction. Now it has a meaning. So this is where Daniel Stern invented the idea of vitality affect. And vitality affects happen now. Not only do they happen now, they define now. If we want to understand now in our experience, a vitality affect captures the moment and gives us now. So Stern was very important for us. Another, Jack Panksepp, was the psychobiologist and inventor of the term affective neuroscience. And here we're looking at something we've mentioned. Panksepp talks about the way that our emotions and our most primitive emotions have deep neural structures, deep structures in our nervous system. We mentioned one example in the first lecture. The little lamb lost in the snow. And the fact that we have neurons that respond to that sound, make us feel sad, make us want to act, make us want to find the lamb or the baby lost. We are activated strongly emotionally by these sounds. So Panksepp worked a lot and was a big inspiration to us in developing the theory. So let me look at some case studies of communicative musicality. Here is one to do with listening to music, but a little parenthesis, one digression, once again in Ukrainian. During 5 years of silence before becoming esoterics, Pythagoras' probationary students would listen to their teacher acousmatically, speaking from behind a veil. So Pythagoras would put a curtain. His students would sit the other side. He would speak from the curtain. They were deprived of visual vitality effects, but perhaps, as Pythagoras hoped, more able to focus, concentrate, and respond to cues in the sound and language. It is inevitable that such communicative musicality is lost behind the veil of recorded performance, not just visual cues, but also the way that a live performer may sense the audience and respond empathetically. So if you're playing music from behind this veil, you're losing a lot of stuff as well. On the other hand, in the act of listening to recorded music, there appears to be some kind of residual intersubjectivity, some form of consciousness of the other. It is possibly one of the reasons why listeners can still be moved by recorded music, even to tears. So music recorded can move us, but we are imagining the people. We are imagining the composer, imagining the performer. They're in our heads. So we can, so live music is much more communicative, but recorded music can be intersubjective. And this is important because of this, what I want to describe. And this is something I hope we might be doing very soon in Ukraine. So I'm describing it now. In March 2020, I was invited by Dr. Angela Kennedy, lead for trauma-informed care, National Health Service in England, to discuss ways in which the experience of using music to support victims of conflict might be helpful in addressing mental health problems associated with the COVID-19 pandemic. So basically, Angela, because I work with trauma in war, Angela contacted me to say, we are meeting problems we have never met before. Can you help with your experience from conflict? So I can try. The main result, which is the focus of this case study, is a set of music playlists on the National Health Service Recovery College online website, designed to take listeners in the repertoire of their choice from where they are in terms of feelings to where they want to be. For example, I'm stressed, relax me. Or I'm feeling down, enliven me. The playlists are curated using X System, a technology that models what we know about the musical brain and predicts with reasonable accuracy the neurophysiological effects of music, and in particular, autonomic arousal and valence. So this system takes a piece of music and predicts what people are going to feel, and it predicts it quite accurately. This is how it does it with a model of the musical brain, modeling each of the aspects of the brain that stimulate us when we are listening to music. So, for example, we can model the brainstem, where in the brainstem there's already sensing. The oldest part of the brain already senses music, and it senses certain things. For example, if an object is moving towards you, then the brainstem sends a signal, a warning signal to the brain. This warns us that something is moving a particular way, and that sends a warning sign to the brain. Also, as I mentioned before, our ancestors didn't like snakes, and so hissing sounds also put us on edge. So here is X System analyzing a piece of the oldest music in the world. It is a Vedic chant from India, and see how it is modeling activation of the brainstem. How is this music going to activate the brainstem? And what messages is the brainstem going to send?
Adharam madhuram vadanam madhuram nayanam madhuram hasitam madhuram hridayam madhuram gamanam madhuram madhuradhipatirakilam madhuram madhuradhipatirakilam madhuram.
So that is a plot of what we're predicting the brainstem will do, how it will be activated, and what kinds of messages it will send to the brain. Here, for example, we're looking at what's happening to Heschel's gyrus, the place where we process musical sounds.
Lam 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 hum. Om vam 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 hum.
So on. And this is important because those sounds, Om, the most ancient sound, is actually something that emphasizes, has two very important things in it. Om is all of the vowels. Ow, ooh, ow. We go through the whole of the possible spectrum of harmonicity, and the brain thinks that's beautiful. A little scary, but very beautiful. The brain thinks this is safe when we hear this. Then the other thing, inside the body. the whole body is vibrating. So from the universe, this is the music of the spheres, into the center of the body. But you can see how X System was showing how beautifully shaped that was and how high it was in the value to relax a human being. And here, this is rhythm, and rhythm, we're not looking at speed, we're looking at power. What extent can rhythm move you and excite you?
चल छैया 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 चल छैया 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 चल छैया 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 चल छैया 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 चल छैया 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 चल छैया 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 सारे इश्क की छाव चल छैया छैया सारे इश्क की छाव चल छैया आओ जन्नत चले चल छैया छैया आओ जन्नत चले चल छैया चल छैया 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 छैया.
Yes, Chali Chaya Chaya Chayochio. I walk in the shadow of your love. That's the meaning of the song. And what we see here is the top line, the pulse is absolutely even, right? What's interesting is underneath the power. And this is how the power evolves and changes. So the power is affecting our excitement. The power is activating both the motor cortex and the emotional systems. And so we put all of this together in X System, and we are then able to predict through all of these things how arousing things are and how pleasantly or unpleasantly they can affect the emotions. We use this, for example, in healthcare work, and we use this with the NHS, say in care homes, where we use music, having worked out how exciting it is. We are now using it to relax people, and here's two examples from a track of an old people's care home where going to sleep is sometimes difficult. Old people can be like babies, as you know, so we have to send them to sleep. So here's two examples from a list of a singer, Doris Day, popular among people who are now in care homes. And it starts with the Deadwood Stage, a very upbeat number, and you can hear how it ends with Again, how it goes down, just the two tracks, step by step, leading people to be ready to sleep. So here we go. And we get to this stage, so it wasn't going to do it for me automatically. At the end, when people are ready for sleep, we hope. In Ukraine, for this generation, there are different songs. This is for a British care home. And for the generation in care homes now, American culture was very important. At the end of the Second World War, Britain was flooded with American soldiers. And already American music was popular through films. But many British girls had American boyfriends and danced to this music. And so it's for them, maybe something different for Ukraine, for this generation. Some of the same things, but that this generation were not exposed to Hollywood in the way that the British kids were. So anyway, back to our thing. Sorry, here, I think you've seen this example, but this is how we can use X system to regulate autonomic activity, and how we therefore built the Music for Wellbeing platform, where people could decide, look, I'm stressed, relax me. I'm okay, relax me. I'm calm, relax me. Or enliven me, I'm sluggish. Enliven me, I'm okay. So we take them from where they are to where they want to be in the system. And we found that this was very effective. We had it looked at scientifically, and with our playlists, people showed big changes. The blue pentangle 5 figure is how people began before listening. And the red pentangle is what happened after listening. And you see that, for example, emotionally, a huge difference, even a physical difference, a big difference in valence, how positive they felt, their sense of meaning. Not quite so much in relationship. Why? Because this is recorded music, right? It's behind Pythagoras' veil. So we're losing some of that. Not all of it, but some of it. So this is really effective. And so it's something that I hope with anesthesia that we can get moving here. I hope on the Recovery College itself to begin with. We will do this for Ukrainian music very soon. Then we also produced Connection Through Music, which was weekly presentations online of music, but allowing people, all kinds of music, and allowing people to talk about music and talk about their feelings. That was really important. So we said artistic resistance against fear, boredom, isolation, and cultural void created by the COVID pandemic. So it was resistance against these things and the cultural void. That's very important, maybe the most important thing. And we used to use X system to track our emotional journeys. We would describe our emotions. And we would ask people to comment. And we discovered that people were feeling better. There was many of this is chat comments we would gather. And we put on special events for example, in the care homes, a lot of people had died and their families could not see them. It was very strict in Britain. In the old people's home, in COVID, you could not go, could not visit. So people sometimes were not able to visit their mothers, fathers, grandparents. And there was a great deal of sadness. So we created events for people to be able to mourn, to be able to accept, think about the people they'd lost. We're very lucky because who helped us? Sting helped us. And Clea helped us, who's sitting here today. And we were very lucky with the people who played for us and sang for us, made a lot of difference. That was more our session. You see, old people dancing there to some of our songs online. And I also supported staff, doctors, nurses, we helped them with creative work in this way. So finally, communicative musicality, creativity, and war. I want to show a film, some of you have seen it. It was filmed in Bosnia, and it's a very unusual film. This is a group of raped women. I'll just read it. It's a group of women who were raped. It's in Ukraine and above. In some cases, gang raped during the war in Bosnia. These abuses took place in the period 1992 to 1995. The film was made in 2014. There has been no justice, no punishment of those guilty. The women even have to see their abusers on social media. I would not normally film a session like this, and certainly not a first session, but the women wanted it to be filmed. We're writing a song. The women both create the words and the music. The editor of the film misses out the detail of how the women compose the melody. I can show how we did it later. Here are the opening words. Time, life, and I live in my days. Time, life, and I in different ways, with the hurt and the pain and the strength we gain. Hear our voice and the words we want to sing. So here's the session. So I've not normally film it. It's my first meeting with the women. I znam da to za neki ljudi to može biti teško. Kad čovjek padne u rupu, u nešto loše, teško je da slušati optimizam. Ja znam koliko teško je da slušati ove riječi. Znam to. Izvinim. Znam da je teško. Zašto ne napraviti nešto za ljudom kreativno, da imamo neke pjesme, uzmemo iz mladi ljudi, iz Bosne, mašta, vizija, refleksiju. Mi mogli bi danas napraviti jednu pjesmu. Zajedno. Ja ne mogu ništa obicati, ali mogu obicati moj srce. To objecam. To imate. I da vidjet ćemo šta dalje. Razumijem situaciju i to. I možda ako stvarno neku pjesmu možemo to koristiti. Evo. Onda imamo sad praznu stranicu i za polosat imamo to puno ljepote. Tako. Ovo stranica će biti. Dobro. Onda pjesma. Počnemo iz riječi, najlakše. I da li ima to neki riječ, da li ima neka ideja za pjesmu. Da jedna za vas ima neka ideja, neki riječ. Riječ može biti svaki riječ. Ljubav, život, svijeće, tuga. Da li ima neka riječ?
Vrijeme, život i ja.
Like that. Vrijeme, život i ja. Čas, borba za život. Da, razumem, borba za život. Dobro, onda od početka. Vrijeme, život i ja. Proživim moj život. Patnje i bola. Snaga i hrabrost. Pravda i nepravda. Mudrost obstajanja. Borba za život. Ali vidim da vi ste strpljivi. Morate biti. Onda idemo sad od početka. Vrijeme, život i ja. Dolje. Vrijeme. Ili to je vrijeme. Koji zvuči dobro? Vrijeme. Pa ja sam pokazao jednu praznu stranu. Sad imamo stranu gdje je puno lepot. Vrijeme, život i ja preživim život, patnje i bola, snaga i храбрость, мудрость обстояние, правда и неправда, борьба за живот, onda вера в себе, время да будеш uz mene, sad kad tražim te, vrijeme da budeš uz mene. Imamo. Nema darova, aman, aman, nemam darova. Udaram stara. So, the power of music, one session. The women had no reason to trust me. Why would they trust some man again? And through music, we were trusting one another in 1 hour. Going on, this was not the end of the story. I promised to try to get the song performed, to get its message communicated to wider world. Fortunately, the Royal Liverpool Philharmonic Orchestra were interested. I worked with the women preparing an orchestral arrangement. I asked if it should be the kind of folk rock ballad we had initially created. They said no, it should be sophisticated and serious, like composers they'd learned about as children in former Yugoslavia, like Bela Bartok, Zoltan Kodaly, or Igor Stravinsky. So I helped them orchestrate it in this way, and here it is. So people did hear their voices. Definitely hundreds of thousands of people, and maybe millions of people heard their voices, because art can do that. It can take an idea and present it in a way that people are able to listen. I think we have a duty to do that. You know, for the musicians and artists with us this evening, we have a job to do. We have to take the creativity of society and build it. We're in a culture that people consume too much and don't give and create enough. And we need to be encouraging people to create, not just in conditions of war. Here's another example of, I think it's, yes, I'll skip that one. The next one's a song written by Roma children. It is the story of a Roma prince who builds a golden ship and sails around the Black Sea, your shoreline, looking for a beautiful girl he has seen in a painting. This is an example of where we can bring together community creativity with professional art making. Here, the Manchester-based ensemble Safa perform an arrangement of a song I made with the children. The children made the song. The children didn't want to work with me. Roma children often, you know, don't want to be interfered with. It took me some time to get to the point, and then they wanted to work with me. And they created this beautiful song, which here turns into an amazing piece.
He trimmed the sails and set to sea to find her wherever she may be. The golden ship sailed on the ocean for 7 years, for 7 years.
Okay, a lot of composers tried to write Roma music for orchestra, Liszt, many Franz Liszt, many others. I think this is a little bit better. And it's created by Roma kids themselves. And all I needed to do was sit and ask them questions. Do you want clarinet here? I thought, yes, we want clarinet. How should the clarinet play? They'd already composed the notes. Anyway, I'm coming to something important. We have had the pleasure working here with Anastasia, right, and Yulia. We've been working with children in Ukraine, in the shelter in Lviv, and in hospitals, and in the children from the villages in Kharkiv, the children from the recently occupied villages. And we've been doing this. We've been making songs, and I'd like to show you some. I'd like to show you how this is turning into magic. It's in the process of turning into magic that will be very important for the children. So let me show you some things. Here we are. I'm with Yulia in Kharkiv, and with a group of children from the villages. And we're asking, what do they want to create a song about? And they said, divo, a little miracle. And so I'm asking them here, what kind of miracle?
Який? 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 Що? Новорічне. Ага, чарівне диво новорічне.
So we have the subject of our song, Novorichny Divo. Okay, a little bit further, what else do we find out?
Летає на санка. A dream. На санка. Окей. То є наша пісня. Чарівне диво новорічне. Віначка дає дарунку. І новий рік летає на санку. На санка. Добре.
Sorry, I understood sang as dream, not sanka, sledge, but that I know that now. So, sorry. I do know the word sanka, I just got mixed up. Anyway, sorry about that. But then we may compose the melody. The tune the children composed, we did it together, step by step. Here we are. If we compose, they've composed a tune, we of course sing it a few times. In other words, and then Katya from Lviv does this. this is important. There is no reason why the world of art should be broken. It should be one thing, where the creativity of a bunch of children from the villages that have been brutalized, why don't they come make something beautiful? And they're going to be very proud of this song, and they should be. And another little example, we wrote with the children in the shelter, people look here in Lviv, wrote a song called Black Dog, Chorny Pes, and we were improvising around some of the ideas with beats. So here is a boy recently from Kherson, we're doing some beats with him. Can you hear it? Strange. You get the feel of it. And then in Uzhhorod, right? Kate takes the song and the rhythms and does this.
Bum 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 bum.
Then sometimes in the shelter, it's quite challenging. Some of the children are really quite damaged. But here we are, we managed to write a song together, Dim Ukraini, a house in Ukraine. That was good for that group. And also, it doesn't matter that the child is playing. That's fine. We want to create an atmosphere of family, a creative place where the children feel they can relax. And it needs good nerves from us because we have to work, hard to make concentration without forcing the children in any way, but it works. Anyway, and here we are. This is what Katya did with that.
Дім в Україні.
So we're putting together a film of many songs created by the children in Lviv and Kharkiv. And we're also doing performances of them with professional musicians. But we're showing both. We show the children performing and professional performances. It's shared. It is a way of honoring creativity. We don't have to have a hierarchy for creativity. Creativity has no hierarchy. It is a human grace, and therefore we can respect it. And so obviously not everything will be as produced as Katja was able to do here. Many of our things are much simpler, professional performances. I very much hope that Marichka and I will perform something after the show now. But the fact that Katja was prepared to make them to this high level of production is very nice for the children and very nice for our project. So this is, we're making a New Year celebration of songs composed by Ukrainian children. And I have a feeling it will be very successful. I think it has a lot of meaning in it, and people will see that. But that is communicative musicality. We are passing through all kinds of stages, from the children between themselves to the professional artist to an audience. And this is an important part of our process, because when the children get to see their songs played by musicians, themselves and musicians, their sense of self-confidence, self-belief, so will increase significantly. It always does. Their confidence in themselves, samovirovanie, will increase in a big way. And it will be a stimulus to their creativity. They will see that if they are creative, this comes, beauty comes. If you're creative, you get beauty back. So we want to teach them about that, about what comes back to you when you give creatively. So there we are. Thank you very, very much for your attention. And thank you for being at this series of lectures. I know they've been sometimes quite complicated and so on. But on the other hand, we are dealing on this program with professional people, professional musicians, psychologists, psychiatrists, and others. So I hope that it's been okay, that we have sometimes gone into some detail, because what we're doing in this work is profound. It touches on the deepest things in human nature. And so we have to be ready to discuss those things in the deepest possible way. I am not apologizing for talking about Husserl and Heidegger and Lacan, you know, and Habermas and what have you, and Daniel Stern in this, because, you know, Howard Gardner, Jerome Brunner, Feuerstein. I'm not apologizing, because these are, you know, this is the level we have to work. We have to know everything we can about this. We have to hold our heads high, be dignified on our work, and not be afraid of knowledge. We should be glad to know. Thank you very much. In the immortal words of the Beatles, you've been such a lovely audience. We want to take you home with us. You don't always translate that. You've been such a nice audience. We want to take you home with us. Thank you. Thank you. I will. I'd love to. It's very nice. I have a very nice vibe. This group of people from the beginning has had a lovely feeling to it. I really enjoyed it. Thank you.